For car insurance, you're safe in the hands of Aviva. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Subject to minimum premium of €280. Aviva Direct Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Car insurance is underwritten by Aviva Insurance Ireland DAC.
And blessed are the great, for they shall receive their just rewards.
Have you been saintly with credit in the past? If your credit record is rated great, Avantcard can offer you Ireland's lowest rate on loans over €20,000. So whether you've been dreaming of an upgraded kitchen, better bathroom or snazzier car, see if we can answer your prayers.
For more info, go to avantcard.ie.
Limited time offer. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. New applications only. Information correct as of February 1st, 2019. See bonkers.ie. Avantcard DAC trading as Avantcard is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Football Index is reinventing football betting. You can buy and sell the world's top players. Their value may go up and down, but it's not over with the final whistle like a regular bet. Football Index, reinventing football betting.
Start building your portfolio today at footballindex.co.uk or download the app now. New customers only, minimum deposit and conditions apply. Gamble responsibly.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Kieran Donaghy's been good enough to answer his phone. Where were you?
Sorry, Joe. Technical difficulties all the way down here in Kerry.
Technical difficulties. Not looking at your watch. So, listen, good to have you with us. There's loads to discuss. We'll get on to the league in just a second. I did want to pick your brain about two things. First of all, you've hooked up with the Galway hurlers, I read in the paper last week. What are you going in doing?
I suppose whatever Michal wants me to do, really looking at probably a cold eye on things, really see what experience I can bring to the setup. I suppose, you know, they lost the All-Ireland final last year. I'm well versed in losing All-Ireland finals, so maybe how to maybe bounce back from that kind of thing, and whatever way I can help the team, really.
And have you discussed how often you'll be up there? Will you be watching training? Will you be watching matches? Will you be on the sideline? Will you be running on with water bottles, all that kind of stuff? Is that still TBC, or have you got a firm idea?
Yeah, I know that's to be confirmed, really. I've been to a few sessions. I've done a lot of video work watching games and behind the goals footage, and see if there's anything I can spot, really, from a team's perspective. So I suppose when Michal rang me with the opportunity, it was kind of too good to turn down. I'm obviously, you know, kind of interested in management and being with teams, and you know, to be with the Galway hurlers was something that was just too good to turn down the opportunity, and plus to learn from myself as well, and just to see another environment, and hopefully I can add a bit to them as well. It's only small percentages, obviously, but if I can add anything, it'd be great, obviously. Yeah,
I appreciate discretion is going to be part of your role there, so you can't come on off the ball every week and blather on about what you saw happen at training. But
you're not going to get too much.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Has anything struck you? Has anything struck you in broad terms? I guess you've been very familiar with football, intercounty football environments. Anything about the way the hurlers are going about their business that struck you?
No, obviously, look, they're different games. Obviously, I would have been a massive hurling fan my whole life. So, been to a lot of games and watched a lot of games, and I suppose since I've been with them in the amount of footage I've watched in them, I've an even keener understanding of obviously how fast the game is, but certain movements and certain patterns that are going on between teams is quite interesting to me, and obviously doing a lot of work with the management team and kind of seeing is there anything we can look to exploit. So yeah, it's obviously all new, and yeah, I was nervous obviously the first time being in with the lads, because it's to get it from their perspective as well. I was very keen to kind of stress that if anything I come up with is doesn't make sense, to let me know. But yeah, just if I can be a sounding board for any of the younger players in the squad or anybody that's struggling. I think I've, through my years with Kerry and even with the basketball, I've experienced all types of playing, trying to get on a team, playing a starring role in a team, being dropped off a team, being a sub that couldn't get a game. Yeah. So I think I have all them kind of angles covered, and any bit of advice that I can give any younger player will be I'll give it, and what they do with it then it'll be their own call. An
interesting one came up during the week, and I don't know, has it generated a surprising amount of conversation, but it's certainly been talked about. And this was the under-15s match, St. Pat's against Abbey CBS of Newry. And so Abbey CBS had scored 632 in their previous 2 games, and St. Pat's decided to go ultra defensive. 15, I was going to say men, we'll call them teenagers, 15 teenagers behind the ball. And it seems Abbey CBS decided to play keep ball in their own half. And this thing has been roundly criticised and roundly used as an example of how the game has gone completely mad. What did you make of it all?
I just think it's disappointing. I'd hope that I'd be a quiet parent, but if I was a parent of one of them boys and I took my day off work to go down and see my young fella playing a school's game, I'd be very disappointed in both setups. The one setup of you know, I just picture if I was in charge, if the team played 15 men behind the ball, I'd be saying, you know, let's punish that, and I'd back my players enough to go punish it, and not try and win the game 2-1, which is what we saw.
Yeah.
But it's complete craziness from both management teams. You can't blame the kids. The GAA could possibly take a hard call on it and just fire both teams out of the competition. They're 15, they'll be back in, they'll have their go at their Hogan Cup, their schools and their management teams will hopefully learn a lesson, but it's something we can't let continue. Really, it's absolutely mind-boggling to me how you could instruct the team to hold on to the ball for that long, and you know, like it's a soccer scoreline 2-1. It's a tragedy really in the game, and it's just something that I think it needs to be, a firm line needs to be taken on it now before some guys think, is this the way to try and win a game? And both guys are guilty.
Would you advocate kicking the kids out of the competition?
I possibly would, to make the example of it. Like, at the end of the day, they're 15. I know it's a big competition in their lives, but you know, they're going to go on and play Hogan Cup. That's what it's about at school level. It's about, the Hogan Cup is the ultimate prize for any team, and something has to be done, because we can sit here and talk all night about it and every night. You know, these guys obviously think it's the way to go, you know, and if you're going to sit back with 15 men behind the ball, and the answer is, and I've no problem with the game with 5 minutes to go and you're up 2 points and the score is 16 points to 14 and the team has 15 men behind the ball. I've no problem with the holding on to it in and trying to draw them out, because eventually they're going to have to come out. But you know, to be sitting there looking at the highlights that I saw, which was first half highlights, is madness. And if we let coaches get away with that, you know, this isn't to punish the players, obviously, and it's a very hard line. I understand that, but it's
very hard.
It is hard, and you know, they'd be disappointed, but you know, I think they'd figure out then, if a coach ever came in and tried to say, this is what we're going to do, we're going to try and win games 2-1. I think they'd say, well, hold on a minute, like, you know, that was tried and it's not acceptable. And, you know, it's a radical thing, but my fear is that other guys are going to copy, you know, and we've got little reports here and there of scores being 3-2, and, you know, it's just, if that's the way it's going to go, you know, we've got to protect this valuable game that is Gaelic football, and how precious it is in so many people's hearts. And
no, I accept
I
that.
would think for every fan there, the last day would be kind of, I don't know what they would have thought. I don't know what the talk would have been. I don't know how the managers got off the pitch, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, you can't kick out teams, though, for legal tactics, which is what we're talking about, you know? I mean, we see football teams, soccer teams being incredibly defensive. Like, you can't kick out a team for putting 15 men behind the ball. What made the thing ridiculous, and look, we're talking about 15-year-olds here, so we're not going too hard on any of them, but like, if a team put 15
I stress it's not them.
Yeah, I know, totally, it's the coaches. But if a team have 15 behind the ball, go and try and break them down. Like, the playing keep ball in your own half is a crazy thing to tell them to do.
Yeah, it 100%. Like, I would try and punish that and leave one defender in my half and get everybody else up into the forward line and just get a lot of movement going on and quick hand passes. Exactly, try and punish it, like, you know, because, you know, and again, it's to keep ball from whatever minute it was to the end of the game. Like, it was just sad. It was actually sad to look at a bunch of kids at 15 being told to do this, and for their development, it's no good. They don't get to find out anything about themselves. They don't get to to go to the game where it's in the melting pot and you have to have fellas that are going to dig you out of the pits, and it's never going to get to that if that's the way the game is going to go. And obviously it's a very extreme situation, which is why maybe an extreme punishment might be a way just to set the tone from the GAA family that we're not going to it's crazy that we're going to possibly let this go on. And if the answer to a team is playing defensive is, well, we'll tip away with the ball in their own half, people won't go to games, and it's
and that is madness. That's not trying to win the game at all. I think a team, when their opposition has scored 6-32 in their previous 2 games, I think there is no problem with getting a bunch of 15-year-olds together and going, lads, let's be strategic about this. We're playing a really good team. They scored 6-32 in their last 2 games. Let's work together. Let's show teamwork. Let's show organisation. Let's prep, and let's put 15 behind the ball. I know. Look, I don't love it either. I'm sort of playing devil's advocate here to a point, but
I know you are trying to get me in trouble.
No, I'm not. It's at least that's in some ways a legitimate tactic. There's a method there about trying to win the game. Whereas this business of what was almost like a protest in the other half of the field, keeping the ball, that is not playing the game at all. That's almost downing tools. I thought that was a crazy thing to ask 15-year-olds to do. Fair enough. You don't love the 15 behind the ball. You're not a fan of that. That's not great. None of us love it. But to tell a bunch of 15-year-olds on the other side, well, don't even try and score. I just thought that is madness. The only route for this game is to prove that 15 behind the ball is not going to work.
Yeah, exactly. And it just stinks of 2 managers, I think, or coaching staffs that have a high opinion of themselves. Let's try and be smarter than them. And if they're going to do this, we'll do this. And it just the message for them young 15-year-olds. And as you said, look, if a team has scored 6-32 and you have to try and figure out a way to beat them, you can't beat a team with literally 15 men behind the ball. So look, it's something that really needs to be looked at. Yeah, and something drastic to be done, because it's mad if we're going to be going down that route.
No, it was fairly grim, and you would have to think the kids will pack up and play different sports if they're being asked.
Exactly.
If they're asked to do that every week.
Exactly.
So the league then, lots of interesting games. Kerry sitting pretty, 5 wins from 5, top of the table. We have Dublin, Mayo and Galway all on 6 points, and then Tyrone are putting a few wins together now, and they're on 5 points. So might start with Kerry first of all. I'm sure you kept a very close eye on this. Yeah. Monaghan seemed to tire a little bit as the game went on. Sean O'Shea is obviously grabbing the headlines and all the images on Twitter. There is just a beauty already in watching this fella strike a ball. How good is he? Yeah, he's special. Probably slightly went under the radar with David Clifford's exploits last summer, but he's a special footballer. He's got it all. He's got the right attitude. He can play it any way you want to. He's got the skill. He's brave. He tackles. He's got a great attitude. He's really probably everything you want in a modern day footballer. He's in the gym. He's in good shape. He looks after himself. He's played an awful lot of football this year already, and you'd never think it by him. He never looks tired. He just gets around the place. He gets on ball, and his kicking ability both off his hands and off his feet is obviously what's getting all the headlines. But he's got great personality about him. He came in last year. He wasn't just playing well for us. He was a kind of a leader in the group at 19. So, special player, and I'm delighted for him to see him playing so well. And it's obviously great for Kerry to have a centre forward that you look like you can kind of build your team around for the next 10 years, 12 years, 14 years, however long he wants to stay at it. Yeah, amazing talent coming through. Last summer, David Clifford got that goal in Clonus against Monaghan. There was an ageing full forward who made a bit of an impact and got the ball to him. What was different in how? So you would have been very familiar with the game plan that day and what was identified in Monaghan and how Kerry went about their business. When you watch Peter Keane's Kerry go against Monaghan, and I appreciate it's in the league, any striking differences with how you guys went about your business last year under Fitzmaurice in terms of approach, or were you seeing similar things?
I suppose, having played in the game in Clonus last year, we tried to kind of press them up the field, and we left ourselves quite one-on-one at the back. And where we probably fell down that day is we didn't get enough pressure around the middle third to get pressure on the kicks in, because you see, even yesterday, McManus got a good few balls and got him over the bar, but I felt that he got them all kind of running out, whereas in Clonus he was kind of so one-on-one that he got a few in over the top and he was kind of true on goal. So it's, I would say that there was probably Kerry are doing a good job this year of really pushing at the ball carrier and making him be worried about you in front of him. There's very rarely times where guys have ball and they're looking up and they're taking solos and they're looking where to kick it. So I think Peter is doing a good job, but obviously emphasising Tommy Griffin has probably worked hard on it as well. Is Tommy as a full back would have known that if there's no pressure out the field, no matter what system you have or what way you're set up or how good of a man marker you have, if there's no pressure out the field, you're going to be in trouble. And I think Kerry have done a good job of getting pressure out the field, which has helped the defenders. And I would say that's one key difference I saw. And, notably, even in the Dublin game, that's what they did well. They really pushed at him, at the ball carrier, and made it hard for him to get his head up and pick that perfect pass.
Yeah, so 5 games in, 5 wins. It's all looking very tidy for Kerry at the moment. How much hype is kind of the unfair word, but how much expectation maybe is there down in Kerry about this group now?
There's always expectation in Kerry,
Sure.
But I suppose we would have been a bit, you would have been kind of, at the start of the year, was all so new, and it's always kind of, there's a bit of excitement, there's also a bit of trepidation, because if you lose your first 3 or 4 games, there's always that pressure going to come on straight away. So I'm happy for the management team and happy for the group of players, because we've been quite inconsistent in the league over the last number of years, and expectations were quite low when Peter came in, because we didn't really know what way he was going to go about things. So of course expectations have risen a bit, but I think the way they're playing the right way. They're playing good attacking football. They're pressing the ball high up the pitch. They're tackling hard. They're working for each other. They're showing great body language is good around the pitch. There was a turnover. There was a big turnover. I think it was Peter Crowley got it, and halfway through the second half, and I could see Paul Murphy and Breen Begley and a few more fellas run in and kind of, encourage the good defensive play, and that's always a sign that a team is going well in my eyes, and that there's a good harmony there, because there's another outcome can happen to that is the guy can get up, get the ball and go on with it and nobody says anything. But I think the tackling and the effort and the team morale seems to be really good in there, and that would be more important to me than the 5 wins is how they're looking as a team, and their body language is really good.
Mayo 12 points, Galway won 11 then. There were 11,000 in Castlebar. It's funny how it all turns around. We'll talk about Galway in a second, but Mayo are obviously a compelling story. Everybody is very curious to see how they get on with James Horan back in the fold. And a few weeks ago, it was looking very good for them, and there was a sense that Horan was already making an impact. And now, after the last 2 games, there's a worry they're over the hill and they didn't make a dent on Dublin and they're in big trouble. So where are you in Mayo? What are you seeing with them?
I was happy enough with Mayo. The disappointment game for me was the Dublin game. It was just a game I thought that they were going to try and lay down a physical and mental marker on Dublin and really try and bring the game to them. I wouldn't read too much into the last day in Castlebar. I've played up there in a few league games in February when the weather is bad, and it's just the wind up there the last day. Galway went down to 13 men. They outscored Mayo because they were playing with a gale of a breeze, and when they didn't have the ball, they were getting their 12 or 13 men behind the ball. So it made no influence. Whereas if that's in the summer and they're missing 2 guys and there's no real gale of breeze there, you'd see Mayo probably picking off more scores during that time period. So that game wouldn't worry me at all, really, to be honest. And I think for James Horan, as disappointed as he'd be for Galway to beat him, I think it's a nice little carrot to have up his sleeve that when the summertime comes, I'm sure he'll use that as motivation, and he'll use that to try and get the best out of his players. But, as in regards to, it was the Dublin game that disappointed me. They looked really good. Matty ran in the middle of the field. I was really impressed with him. I thought he got through an absolute Trojan amount of work. Fionn McDonough is obviously, kind of looks like he's bedded himself into that starting lineup. Another big, tall, rangy player. So, I think for James at this stage of the game now, he's probably under pressure to get to a league final, and they won't be obviously relegated. So I'd say he's kind of, how many players can I find in these next 2 games will be important for them, because it's not about league for James Horan, it's not about league for Mayo, it's not about league for Andy Moore or Aidan O'Shea or Keith Higgins or these fellas. It's about, I'd say, another tilt at the championship. And, you know, I think they've found 1 or 2 players that are really going to help them come the summertime. So I wouldn't be too worried if I was a Mayo fan right now.
Galway are missing the likes of Comer and Shane Walters out at the moment as well. So that is a factor. But that said, it's not like they completely let the handbrake off come summertime either. Are they too negative for you? Like, are they kind of pitching at a glass ceiling if they don't go for games more, or are they on the right track?
I think they're on. They are defensive. I don't think you would enjoy playing Galway now, which is probably a good thing if you're a Galway fan or a Galway person or a Galway player.
Yeah.
You know, there was years I would have enjoyed playing Galway. They were lovely footballers. It was a real, you knew you were going to get a real game of football off them, you know, and in the end you'll be hoping you'll be just good enough for them. Whereas now, like, you know, they're...
And sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
That is the very sentence that will that would have made Kevin Walsh's blood boil. You know, that is exactly what he wants to stamp out, and he doesn't give a damn if you don't like playing against them. That is music to his ears, I guess.
Music to his ears.
Yeah, I'm delighted.
So music to the player.
Yeah, I'm wondering though if they're too defensive for their own good. Maybe is the worry.
Well, I think if they keep the defensive structure the way they are, they're hard to break down.
Yeah.
You've seen that from the scores they've conceded. I think what they have to do is maybe improve the top end of the pitch. And I think once you get the few Currafin lads back and you have Damien Comer back and Shane Walsh I think he has to define Shane Walsh's role a bit. I think he's a bit too freelance at the moment for my liking. I think I'd be kind of saying, Shane, look, this is where you're going to be. You're going to be one of my top 4 forwards whatever way they're going to play. If they're going to play with 3 or 4 up, but I would have him as the outlet guy. It's not a pretty role. You know, Declan Sullivan did it for us for years and didn't get too much limelight, but you know, he'd be good enough to get on the end of a few as well during the game. But Declan was always our out guy. If the backs were coming out, Declan Sullivan would always be free to pop a ball up the line he'd get it and take you on, he'd get it and turn in and set up, he'd give a nice pass, he'd play a 1-2. And then there'd be times where he wouldn't be involved in that part of the game and he put his mind to getting off me and Cullum in the inside line. And I think that's what they have to get Shane to do. They have to kind of nullify his role and maybe keep him a bit, get his patience up and don't let him kind of, you know, just start wandering out to the middle of the field, picking up, handing off ball out in the middle. And, you know, I think they just have to kind of, once they define his role and you have Comer back flying, there's nobody going to want to play them. You won't want to go to Pierce, or you won't want to go up to Galway, up to Salt Hill and they come to championship when all them boys are back, because they're, you know, they've Peter Cook, they've Sean Andy at full back, they've Bradshaw, they've good experienced guys, they're big, they're strong all over the pitch, they're fiery. You know, you've Kieran in the corner who's a tight, tigerish corner back who won't give you an inch and he's breathing down your neck from minute 1 to 70. So, you know, I think they're going to be a team. I think it will be getting to an All-Ireland semi-final again, possibly, definitely Super 8s. They're going to hurt some team at some stage, like they kind of did to us last year, I suppose.
Yeah, Walsh did play against Mayo, didn't he? Sorry, I think I misspoke there.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. No, he actually got man in the match, but I thought Lee Keegan did a good enough job in him from play.
Yeah.
But he got a few big points. He got his few frees, and you know he does these very stylish things.
Yeah.
But I think there's more in him. I think he's better than that, and I think he can. If his role was more nailed down, if he was just told, look, this is literally your role, this is what I want you to do, I think he can be even better for Galway.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point, and like he has the skill set to do that kind of role. You know, it takes it takes a really good player to do it, even if they don't always get the limelight. They're crucial.
Yeah, he's a serious baller, obviously, and that's clear by these bits of skill. But I'd like to see him just do a bit more dirty work, running out 40 yards for a hard ball, giving it back to the midfielder, coming off his shoulder, letting the midfielder kick it into Comer and Burke come the summertime. I think is the way they can go.
I did want to touch on Roscommon Dublin. Clock's kind of coming against us. I mean,
my battery's coming against me too.
Is it okay? Well, Dublin. You know, I say, like, they can win any way you want. They can win in Croke Park on a summer's day, and they can go down and fight for it against Roscommon, and that's very impressive. I think it is worth touching though, in the minute or two that we do have on Donegal Armagh. Like, I was talking to someone about this game, and they were saying Armagh's kind of disciplinary issues, rather than kind of getting to the other team, are counterproductive. They almost distract themselves, and Kieran McGeeney seems to be serving a touchline ban at the moment. But more than anything, there was a stamp in that game which people would have seen on social media. I was going to say it has to be stamped out of the game. That's a terrible pun under the circumstances. But it's really nasty. You know, like, it's dreadful. It's not what you want to see in the game, and that should be picked up on, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I think, seeing it, I don't know, did the referees or linesmen, did anybody not see what happened?
I think they missed it. I think that's the sense is they missed it in real time.
Yeah, they could have missed it in real time. You definitely don't want to see it. Obviously, it's it's not something that should be in the game really at this stage of it. Like it was a nasty blow. You don't know what's going on at the heat of the moment between them two players in the game. Yeah. Maybe there was a bit of over and back going on, and maybe a bit of frustration boils over. And but it is, you don't want to see it. I don't think it has anything to do with Kieran.
Battery went. Okay. He wasn't joking. His battery went. Okay. We were pretty much out of time anyway. We'll pick up on that point again with Kieran when he's back on. I think it'll be on OTB GAA Thursday. He'll be back with the lads on OTB GAA Thursday, so I'm sure they'll pick up on a few of those points. We are going to take a short break, and then Pat Nevin is coming next on the Football Show.
Join the conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
Ireland has a new superfast broadband network. Imagine's 5G ready fixed broadband network with broadband speeds of up to 150 meg is now live, connecting everyone, everywhere. A more intelligent network built especially for regional